And now to talk about all of it is U.S. Representative Mary Miller joins me. She's a member of the House Education and Labor Committee. She represents the 15th Congressional District of Illinois. Congresswoman Miller, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I've always enjoyed your program. For years on the farm, when I was raising my children, I was always an avid and grateful listener.
You are kind to say that, and we are glad to have you as a guest and most especially as a member of Congress as you do fight for the right things. And I would love to hear your perspective on the top story perhaps in Washington, D.C. this week. At least the Democrats would like this to be the top story. A lot of people did not tune in for yesterday's hearing, and perhaps ironically, that includes President Biden, who said he was, quote, doing other business. But what's your reaction to these hearings?
Well, the Democrats are not focusing on the things that are impactful to the American people. Basically, you could say Rome is burning, and they're focusing on a sham witch hunt. This is all about keeping President Trump off the ballot in 2024, and it's nothing but political theater. They're using, our tax dollars basically to trot this out in primetime TV hours, and it's nothing but an attack on President Trump.
It's clearly an attempt to divert. There's not a lot of good news nationally, from gas prices to general inflation and the things that are going on at the border. It's a long list of challenges that the country is facing right now. Do you think this will be a successful distraction for the Democrats, which is clearly what they're looking for heading into November?
I don't think it's going to be a successful distraction. I think that they are going to lose in an outstanding way. I'm certain we're going to take back the House. We do need bold fighters out there. President Trump was beloved by us because he was a bold fighter. He didn't fight on the defense. He fought on the offense. He, for things like securing our border and gaining energy independence, those are things that matter to the American people, that affect their well-being and their ability to run their businesses and basically to live life. In fact, I just drove past a gas station here in central Illinois, and gas is $5.20 here. Diesel is $5.93. We're farmers, and all of our equipment is run on diesel. This is very scary. The American people should be alarmed. In light of agriculture, my husband and I are production farmers, and it's like everything's hitting us at once. We've got outrageous prices for fertilizer, plus a shortage, equipment shortages, shortages of parts. We've got a piece of equipment in the shop since November, and all of this stuff is going to snowball. People are going, by the fact that they're putting all their money in their fuel tanks, they're not going to have money to spend in other areas, and it's going to just add to I think we're going to head into a depression over this.
Well, we hope it's not an actual depression, to be sure, but Congressman, there is no doubt that America is experiencing sticker shock when you see gas prices over $5 a gallon. That, and of course, affects the price of every good in every restaurant and every store, because transportation is just part of what is required to have a product at the market that we are able to buy. I do want to get to that with you, but I want to talk a bit more about what's going on in Washington, D.C. on these hearings, because there is bipartisan agreement that we don't want violence at the Capitol. We don't want it before an election. We don't want it after an election. And certainly we hope to not see a repeat of the events of January 6th. But we've also seen in very recent days other threats of political violence. We've seen churches, we've seen pregnancy centers who have actually been targeted. There's a group called Jane's Revenge, which is claiming responsibility for attacks in North Carolina, in Washington, D.C., and Florida. In Jane's Revenge, referring to Jane Doe, one of the messages that they left at one of these centers was, if abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either. Now, we also know that there was essentially an attempted assassination of Justice Kavanaugh. In these hearings in Washington, D.C., are they only focusing on politically convenient violence, or do you see this as a sincere attempt to try to calm the nerves of the country so political violence everywhere is put down?
Oh, they're just trying to ramp up the violence. I think they want anarchy because they want to come in and declare martial law. I don't know. They've defunded our police and opened up the border, and we've got catch and release. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. But in light of their language, just Senator Chuck Schumer's language, his rhetoric is outrageous, and I do think that it may have contributed to the recent assassination attempt of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. I did sign on to a resolution condemning that, and I sure hope my colleagues join me in signing on to that resolution. But this is all on purpose, and even the House Democrats keep talking about these attacks on our democracy. But just this week, they refused to protect our Supreme Court justices from these left-wing terrorists that are trying to assassinate judges because they want to prevent court decisions that they don't like. And another thing, if you go back in 2016 when President Trump was elected, they burned D.C. And I'm not making an excuse for anybody that committed a crime on January 6th. Nobody is. But what we're talking about, one of the things that's made our country great is nobody's been above the law, and that the rule of law applies to everybody. And not only that, but how about burning our cities down in 2020? And these people were released, and we have people rotting in the D.C. jail. People have a right to a speedy trial. What's going on with this?
Yeah, I think you're right. And this is something that should be bipartisan, is the idea that we just need to condemn violence of our own side as well as the other side, whatever side we find ourselves on. Because you're right. We did burn not only Washington, D.C., but many other cities in protest, in political protests. And of course, everyone knows what happened on January 6th of last year. But unless we all come together to condemn this stuff, we are going to see more of it. Now, Congresswoman Miller, I want to get into the inflation that we're seeing, the numbers that came out today.
Yeah.
Record highs. Haven't seen numbers like 8.6% since 1981. It's been a very long time. President Biden addressed this, again, blaming Putin. I want to play what he had to say here and give you a chance to respond.
I understand inflation is a real challenge to American families. Today's inflation report confirmed what Americans already know. Putin's price hike is hitting America hard.
Congresswoman Mary Miller, is this Putin's price hike?
No, he's a fraud, and he's betraying the people that he claims to represent. On day one, he shut down the Keystone Pipeline and destroyed 11,000 jobs, and he flippantly makes a comment about how those people could go get a job assembling a solar panel. He doesn't care about the American people. And, shutting down our gas and oil is it's going to bring us to our knees. In fact, I recently asked my 20-year-old son to tell me in one word, to give me one word that will describe what has given us the lifestyle we have. And I said to him, we are living in the lap of luxury of all time and all places. Why? And his one word was work. And I said, no, it's not work, it's energy. And I said, you could take 2 oxen and a plow out into our field and barely eke out an existence. But because of energy, you get to take our Case IH tractor, diesel tractors out there and overproduce. And shutting down our gas and oil is very serious. In Illinois, we're facing an energy crisis. The number one place in the United States that's at the greatest threat for blackouts and brownouts this summer is Central Illinois, which is where the Illinois 15 is, where I live, and the area I represent.
Congresswoman Mary Miller, we do hope that this is going to be resolved very quickly. We thank you for your service, for your time today, for being with us. Thanks so much, and we hope that you have some answers for us in the near future. God bless you. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.